strings, and I'll say two new strings. Hello just stands for hello, and I'll add one more string called as world, which stands for world. So we'll transition from hello to world on click of a button. Over here, when I click me, hello will change to world. This is the target. So first I'll get a reference to the text view. The way to do this is call a function called as file or view by ID. This is more or less similar to what you have like document that ID in HTML. Now the interesting thing is when I was looking for IDs, over here I mentioned the ID as hello underscore text. Now I do have a shortcut to just say r.id, look for all the IDs which are defined in this application and choose one. Similarly, I'll go for button, click me button, and here in ID I'll look out for click me. Then I'll go to the click me button and I'll add a on click listener. So I'm defining this as an anonymous class. I'll define text view as final, so if I can use it in an anonymous class, and I'll say let's change the text of this. Now you can mention text in quotes, but I'll prefer to use an entry in string. So from hello I want to change it to world. So this is a reference to this. Now let's just try to run this. Look closely, we have hello defined over here. I'll say click me, it changes to world. Well, that's fine. What we will do in the next step is we'll add one more button over here which will take me to next activity. So I'll say next activity as ID, and I'll say next activity here as well. So here I'll say activity as go to next activity. So when I go to my main.xml, I look at the graphical layout, you will see this. So what I want to do next is when I click on go to next activity, it should take me to the next activity. For that, we first of all require an activity. So we have got this main.xml as a layout. Let's just copy this and say activity underscore 2. This is the thing for second activity. We'll say over here you don't require the ID in this case, so let's remove this, and a string will say second activity, and in string.xml I'll define that over here by saying second activity. And if I look at activity 2, you can see that when this activity comes, you'll see second activity. Now before you do anything, we'll have to declare one more class for the second activity. So say I'm saying second activity, which extends activity, generate comments, override methods, on create. Now here I'll say that I want to use activity.xml as the content layout. But before I can do anything else, I need to go to the Android manifest and declare this activity. We need to declare every activity which you want to use in this particular file. So we'll declare second activity. If you don't declare this, your application will crash and you move from the first activity to the second activity. Now we will add this button called as go to next activity, and I got ID as next activity. I'll say go to next activity, set on click listener, new on click listener. We'll put it over here itself. Now the way to go to the next activity is to use Indepth. In Android, we use intents for a lot of things. This is one example. So we are saying to the Android OS that my intention is that I want to invoke. So we're giving it the Android context, and we are saying that the intent is to actually invoke the second activity. By invoke, we obviously mean you want to show it, transition to it. So now we'll say start activity nav intent. This is a explicit intent in which we are saying that okay, this intent is for this particular class, and now I want to start that particular activity. Now let's just go and run this. So I'll click on go to next activity. It goes to the second activity, and I'll click on back button. It takes me back over here. So this is how things work. The last thing in this particular demo would be Android lifecycle. I'll copy paste some code for this. The first thing which I'm defining is a tag for logging. So the way we use this is we use Android's logger, saying Android log D, which is debugging log. We'll pass a tag. The tag is a good way of filtering the logs because we get a lot of logs, and over here we'll say that okay, I'm in onCreate method. And if you go below, you'll see that I have got other methods like onStart, also having a log, onResume, onPause, onStop, onDestroy. We'll do similar things for the second activity, so we can look at the logs generated for that as well. So I'm going to mention log d tag on create method. It's very important to understand this life cycle, and that's why we're going to look into the tags. So I'll run this now, and we'll change our perspective to the DMS perspective. This is the Android perspective. We'll click on the emulator because the emulator is running the entire code. We are clear this log, and you can see that we saw onCreate, onStart, and onResume colon hello activity. This happened because this activity showed up. So Android created this activity by saying onCreate. When it became visible, it said onStart, and it immediately said onResume because it became foreground. Now I'll say on activity, go to next activity. In this case, you will see that my pause of the first activity is called, and my on create of the second activity is called, and on resume of the second activity is called, and on stop is called for the first activity. The problem was I did not actually include a method, so we'll try this one more time. So I missed the on start, so I'll just copy paste this. Start, start, and we'll do the whole exercise again. We'll clear the logs and we'll say launch hello world. So we saw on create, on start, and on resume being called on the first activity. Then we say go to next. We see on pause being called on the first activity, and on create and on start and on resume called on the second activity. And then on stop being called on the first activity because it's no longer visible. Now when I say back, you will see on pause call on the first activity and on start and on resume call on the first activity, the hello world activity, and the second activity being destroyed because the intention was to destroy it. And if I go further and I hit back, you will see that the first activity, the hello world activity, is also destroyed. So this is the life cycle. So that's all, folks, for the first chapter, in which I explained you how the hello world thing works. Please try it and also look at the life cycle methods to understand how it behaves. That's all. Over and out. Thank you.